Welcome to Timeout with Tackle What's Next, where we speak to athletes and executives about how sport has made a difference and changed the course of their lives and the lessons they've learned in life outside of the game. I'm your host, Danielle Berman. I am the founder and CEO of Tackle What's Next, where we work to change the narrative around life after sports. So thanks for taking a time out with us tonight. Really excited to have you guys all here. Tonight, we're talking to Marques Ogden. Marques is a keynote speaker, a business coach, and a corporate consultant with a unique approach to elevating your success to the next level. He creates presentations designed to help each brand in various elements of business like communication, sales, leadership, management, generational issues, transition, innovation, customer experience, diversity, inclusion, and so much more. Marques believes improving your business does not have to be complicated. You might know Marques from his 5 years in the NFL, where he played for the Tennessee Titans, the Buffalo Bills, the Baltimore Ravens, the Jacksonville Jaguars from 2003 to 2008. And his podcast, The Get Authentic with Marques Ogden Show, is globally ranked in the top 1.5% most listened to podcasts. And they achieved that ranking in just 2.5 months. It's incredible. He loves interviewing authentic people with authentic stories and providing immense value to his audience. So I'm excited to dig in. Marques is here. We're going to get him up on the screen and get started. Just thank you for being here. But if you can start off just by telling us a little bit about how you've been, what you've been up to lately. I know you got the podcast that I talked about in the intro. Crushing it with episodes every week on that. I know another one has been coming out, on a regular basis, probably more than once a week. I've been seeing episodes. So tell me a little bit about what's new.
So right now, what we got going on, Danielle, is we are doing a lot of keynote speaking. We're doing a lot of podcasts, appearances on different podcasts. We're shooting a lot of podcasts right now. So things are moving in the right direction. We work hard, we go from there. And so, it's just really awesome. So what we're trying to really focus on right now is just moving the needle forward and continuing to, press on and get things done. But we're really busy right now with, speaking jobs and coaching and going on podcasts, having our own podcast. So we're really fortunate, in that regard.
That's awesome. I love it. And I know the show we talked about in the intro is really around how sport has made a difference in your life. So I would love to go back to the very beginning, as far back as you can remember. What was your first sports experience? And then was it football? And if it wasn't, how did you find your way to football?
So I played basketball when I was 12 and under on an AAU basketball team. And I did that to get some discipline and learn about, exercise and teamwork and camaraderie. I really wasn't that great. The team we were on, we won our national championship, and all the guys on the team, except for me, one other guy, we both ended up playing football. Everybody else, the other 10 players, went Division I basketball. Virginia, George Washington, College of Charleston, Marist, Maryland, you name it. So that was my first experience. But that Coach Rob Jackson, he's still close to me today. He's actually closer to me than any of my football coaches, because Coach Jackson talks a lot about discipline, hard work, focus. And as a result of that, a lot of things I did as an athlete in football, I remember those days playing AAU basketball with the Silver Spring Blue Devils in Silver Spring, Maryland under Coach Jackson. And that was a major facet and a major part of why I am who I am today, in that regard.
Yeah. So how did football come into being, and what was that journey like, right? You obviously made football the number one and took it into the highest levels of all in the NFL. So what was that journey like? And you mentioned a couple different reasons of the impact it's made on your life, but is there any specific kind of skills or lessons that you feel like football and sports in general have taught you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Football taught me a lot about discipline, taught me a lot about focus, taught me a lot about how to overcome adversity and how to deal with loss. Because in sports, you're going to lose. Like, people that you play against, they either are on a scholarship too in college, or in the NFL, they make a paycheck also. So they're going to make plays. The question is, are you good enough that if someone beats you or you make a mistake, can you get rid of it, not think about it, and go on to the next play? And a lot of players, I feel, that are Hall of Fame players are ones that can do that. The ones that struggle with the mindset of how to deal with loss or adversity or difficulty that don't do well in that regard, those are the players that I feel don't last long, because everybody in the National Football League has talent. The question is, how strong is your mindset to endure and have the talent, no matter if you're playing against somebody that's better than you, to showcase that, where you don't let that disrupt you or take you off your game and get your job done because you're so focused on the other person, you're not focusing on yourself.
That's really powerful. I think that's a really great way to look at it. And focusing on the team mentality, making sure it's you're doing your job, you're exceeding and kind of preparing at your best level, because that's what being a good team player is about. It's that kind of give and take between being selfish and focusing on yourself, but also being a team player and being able to, be a part of a collective working towards a goal. But yeah, you mentioned a lot of things that we hear a lot: discipline and the ability to lose, right? I think that's such an important skill, because not just in football and sports, but in life, you're gonna lose as well. And you're going to have to recover from losses. We call them failures in the business world, right? Or mistakes, but you're gonna have to learn from those. And I think athletes are kind of geared to do that because of their sports experience. So Marques, you do so much off the field. How did you know that it was time to move on from football? How did you figure out where you were going to go? Can you talk a little bit about that process and what that time was like for you?
Yeah. So for me, when I was done with football, it wasn't really an easy transition. I struggled for about 6 months with alcohol addiction, nightlife, gambling, because I didn't have a plan. I didn't know what strengths to leverage outside of the game to take me to my next phase of life. So it was really hard. And then after about 6 months, I finally found my construction company and I got into that business. But unfortunately, that grew, but it didn't sustain because of my ego and my bravado and my attitude. And so I had to make another pivot and come down here to Raleigh, where I'm at currently. And I had a lot of struggles along the way. And now I'm a very successful keynote speaker, coach, consultant, all that kind of great stuff. But like I tell guys all the time, you're going to have to look at the disposition and say, okay, what is it that you are going to be able to do? And once you find out what you can do, then it's time to leverage those skill sets to get to the next level. So that's why we're able to speak and coach and consult and have our podcast and different things of that nature, because we're all about getting to that next level going forward.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, because the skills are there, right? Those skills that you're learning in your sport at a high level, or even in the youth leagues, right? They translate to life outside of your sport. And they're actually those intangible skills that lots of people wish that they knew how to do or that they could learn. Sport is such a great training ground for those intangible skills. So I really appreciate the emphasis on, you just have to figure out what you want to do, what you're good at, what you can do, and then just take those skills and move them into that new arena. Easier said than done, of course, but that's really the big key. So I appreciate you saying that. And for you, you mentioned that you did struggle and you really had, a tough time at certain points. But what would you want athletes to know about this period? And was there anything that you wish you did? You talked about having a plan that would have been helpful, but that maybe would have set you up for success, anything specific?
Yeah, I wish I would have got a coach, someone to coach me on what my skill sets are beyond the game, to transcend that from life on the gridiron to life off the gridiron. So I really know in my heart, if I had a coach, mentor, someone to guide me, I would have found my calling, and it wouldn't have been construction. It would have been something different. Now, I'm very glad that I went through the construction, not all the failure, to be honest with you, because it was a lot, but it made me who I am today. So again, to avoid what I went through in 2013, a coach would have been very beneficial. So I wouldn't have had to endure all that loss, all that financial ruin, to get myself back in good graces to where I'm at now.
Yeah, and right now in your work as a coach yourself, you do work with a lot of folks trying to start businesses or kind of building their own entrepreneurial endeavors. What inspired you to become a coach yourself, and what do you work on with the individuals and business executives that you support?
So, great question. It varies. Some people want help in being better speakers. Some people want help in how to be better managers, better leaders. Some people want help in how to grow their business. Some people want help in how to start their business. So everybody's different. So I do a lot of this business, strategic and tactical coaching, and I help my clients in an array of different topics. Again, it could be speaking, leadership development, professional development, personal development, strategic tactical advice, planning, execution. It's all across the board. So we have worked really hard to develop and create this brand around the foundation of just helping people excel to the next level. And as a result of that, Danielle, we've had a lot of success. And we've helped a lot of people in their specific fields and with their specific targets to get where they want to go. So what's great about coaching is taking my knowledge, my information, my failures, my wins, my experiences, and then passing it on to my clients. So what, right, Danielle? They don't make the same mistakes that I did.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. And I think the one thing that a lot of people don't realize is just the power of being able to talk to somebody that has kind of knows what you're going through, or can at least give you some sage advice from when they were in a similar situation. And a coach isn't just teaching you how to do stuff, it's just someone to talk to about some of this stuff sometimes, like you said, is hey, let's talk about this, let's get some ideas going. And like you said, here's what I did that didn't work out, or here's what I did that did work out. Maybe some of this could be helpful for you. So I appreciate that. And it's awesome to hear that everyone has different goals, because I think folks say, well, I don't need a coach, or I don't need help with this because I'm not trying to be an entrepreneur, or I'm not trying to be CEO of a business. Well, you could still benefit from a career coach in some way, shape, or form. Like you said, maybe you want to get into speaking. So there's probably a coach for anything you're trying to do. But just like in your playing career, you had specialization coaches. You had, coaches that worked on, for football, let's say kicking. There's the special teams coach, there's a defensive, there's an offensive, and then there's a head coach, right? You need a coach for everything because each coach has their specialty. And so I think that's the idea of it kind of sounds like what you're talking about is, the end goal may be different, but, they all need a coach to get to where they're going that can support them in this general sense of, like you said, helping them succeed in their business careers. So I'm excited to hear that you do that. And I know you have the podcast too, and I don't want to let you go without asking about why a podcast, what inspired you to start it, and why is authenticity such a big part of what you're talking about?
So to us, which is our brand, our team, everybody, authenticity is everything. It is your ability to be who you are without, judgment, without fear, and without trying to be something that you're not, right? So it's no holds barred, being okay with who you are, knowing that you are good enough, looking for internal validation versus external validation.
Mm.
And our podcast is doing really well. We're putting out right now 5 a week. It's between 4 to 5 episodes we drop a week. And we've been very, very fortunate. We have a huge backlog of people that want to come on up until right now. We're booking now into April. And, we've interviewed people like Rashad Sugar Evans, UFC Hall of Famer. We interviewed today Sean Lights Out Merriman. We're in the process of talking to Mark Wahlberg's team. We're trying to get Matthew McConaughey on the show. We're really just going after all types of people, but also it's business owners, it's entrepreneurs, it's executives. And what really started us on down this podcast trail was getting people to come on and share their authentic stories in an inspiring way to get the masses excited about pushing through in their hard times, in their difficulties, and really getting people excited to know that no matter how bleak their situation might be, there is a brighter day ahead if they can focus and not allow the difficulty or the adversity to take them under. And we've had a guy on who was a transition type coach, and he was talking about the Twitch situation. We were talking about all the things that Twitch was probably feeling. He was very successful, but was he fulfilled? And, unfortunately, he was probably not, because if you're fulfilled, then you have hope. And when you take your own life, you don't have hope. So, we were really talking about that. We had a young lady on the day, Shannon Teague, about the the power of authentic communication to build your dream team. We've had all types of different people. The authentic power behind PR with Jennifer Sherlock came out today. Mm-hmm. So it's absolutely just all types of people. And people are calling us the Enlightened Joe Rogan Show. That's what people are calling us right at this time. And I think very highly of Joe Rogan and his podcast. Some people don't like him. I think he's great. I mean, he's built a phenomenal brand around who he is, and he's done great for himself. So for us to be in the same breath as him saying we're the Enlightened Joe Rogan Show, and we're only 6 months old, that's a fantastic, saying. So again, it's just all about helping people through metaphors, authenticity, and our guests sharing their stories to inspire the masses.
Yeah. And what would you say you've learned through doing these conversations? I mean, I think the idea of authenticity is so powerful, but it's such a buzzword that's used a lot lately. So I'd love to hear, have you learned anything about authenticity through doing this podcast, or anything that you kind of learned from all the different guests? I mean, it's incredible the different people you've had on the show already.
What I've learned is everyone who is successful is living present in the present. They're not trying to put a mask on, and they're not trying to be something that society wants them to be. As a result of that, they're moving mountains. So again, it's all about our ability to say, here I am, this is what I'm all about, and don't worry about what other people think of you, and don't let fear or potential judgment hold you back from being who you are and your true self.
I think that's really powerful, and kind of ties back into the kind of focus of our show, which is around career transition and life after sport. There is this fear of losing that athlete identity, and kind of figuring out, who am I outside of my sport? What would you say to someone that says, I don't have anything else besides my sport? How do they figure that out? What if a college football player says, I've never done anything else. I can't. I got to go to the league. There's no future for me if I don't. What advice do you give to him, or to a fellow athlete in another sport thinking the same thing?
I would tell that athlete to sit down and figure out, what are your 3 strengths. Once you figure out what your 3 strengths are, then create opportunity by leveraging those strengths and pursuing what you want. When you do that, that's when greatness happens. So again, put yourself in a position and get yourself into a mind frame and mindset of really identifying what you do well. And from there, playing off of that and building towards a better tomorrow by leveraging your strengths and creating opportunity for yourself to achieve what you want.
That's powerful. And I think it goes back to what you were just saying, is not living in fear of, and kind of trying to put a mask on and trying to say, I'm fine, I'm okay, I can figure this out, but really saying, okay, I can actually do the work to figure this out. And if not, that's when you give Marques or another coach a call and say, hey, I need help figuring this out. I can't do this by myself. And I think that's something that it seems like you've had a really, really great run with all of these business executives, and I'm sure athletes as well, just that ability to help them figure out their authentic selves. That seems to me to be a takeaway of some of the work that you do, whether it's with your podcast, educating the masses, or those individuals you work with. It's really helping them grow in a more authentic way. And is there anything else around the work you do in the coaching world that you feel like comes directly from your sports experience, from your athletics experience?
Learning how to push through the no's and teaching people how to not allow the no's to make a permanent mindset for them to feel that they're not going anywhere. And once you figure that out as an individual, you learn how to deal with discomfort. You learn how to deal with difficulty. And if you can't deal with difficulty or discomfort, you'll never reach optimal success, because as you get more successful, it gets harder, it gets uncomfortable, because why? You get all the spotlight on you. So sports taught me how to deal with that, so I don't put myself in a position where I'm always making mistakes and I'm not able to get where I want to go because I can't handle the pressure.
Yeah, and not being able to learn from those mistakes, to be able to grow is a huge problem too. So, when you're repeating the same mistake over and over again, sometimes it's best to like sit back and go, okay, what am I doing wrong? What can I learn from this? All of that. So that's great. And I want to end just by kind of pointing out your work. So if somebody's like, wow, I want to work with Marques, I want him to coach me, or I want to listen to his podcast, where can they find you? Where can they stay in touch with you? And where can they tune in?
So you can go to our website, www.marques, MARQUES, Ogden, OGDEN.com. You can shoot me an email, marques@marquesogden.com. And you can also follow us and listen to our podcast, The Get Authentic with Marques Ogden Show. We're on Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeart, Stitcher, Pandora, and also YouTube and Amazon. Check us out, connect with us. We'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. Well, we'll put this all in our show notes as well. I hope everybody subscribes and tunes in. I have been loving the podcast, so thank you for all you're doing. And thanks for sharing so much great advice with us and our audience. I know all of the athletes tuning in will learn a lot. So Marques, thanks for being here. Thanks for taking the time out with us.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks, everybody.